mics. As always, it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk about things with you regarding music gear, guitars, that kind of stuff. So you're into that, please stick around. We got lots of that to talk about tonight. I'll also start out by saying that I do appreciate you taking your time, spending time with me and listening in. Time's valuable. And spending a little bit of yours with me is always going to be appreciated. So thank you so much. Scott, how you doing, sir? First in the house, welcome to see you. Thank you, thank you. Cheers to you too. Let me check my orientation here a little bit. Lift that up. Yeah, that's fine. That works. How's everybody doing out there? Mr. Watson, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. Welcome everybody to the live stream. I was off on Wednesday, wasn't feeling very well. I thought that it would be wiser for me to put my butt to bed early. So I did so. And I sure am glad that I did, because after that I felt fine. Sometimes, as much as I want to push forward and push ahead, sometimes taking a step back puts you 2 steps forward. So that worked out for me. So I'm feeling better. I want to thank you guys for coming back this Sunday. I know when you take a break like that, it kind of cuts momentum, especially when that last live stream that we did here was phenomenal. Got a lot of views on that one. Obviously a topic that people found interesting, and I'm glad to be able to have done that one. Don't know how it's going to go with tonight's topic, honestly, but I do believe that there is some value in it. I've had a few days to think about, so many things to think about, so much to think about. Ben, how you doing, sir? Welcome. While we wait for people to tune into the live stream here before we really get started, Maddie Two Hats, how you doing? Yes, sir, I am feeling much better. Thank you so much. While I wait for more people to tune in, so much to talk about, so many things I thought about. A lot of topics coming up here that I try not to touch upon tonight. I went to the orchestra today. I'm about, as you know, about a 15-minute walk to the concert club here in Amsterdam. And I went to go see the orchestra perform Ellington and a few 20th century composers, Gershwin. It was wonderful, I have to say. I always enjoy, and had awesome seats. I had the best seats. I've been going there for 2 dates now, and I had the best seats I ever had today, courtesy of the director there. She was kind enough to get tickets for us to go see that and give us tickets, and it was fantastic. So it's always good. I encourage you guys, if you get a chance, support your local performers, especially orchestras and things like that. It's packed today. But it was really a wonderful, and for your musical education as well. I learned how to write string arrangements in that sitting there in those for the last 20 years in that concert hall. And so from an musical education standpoint, I really do think it's a good thing as well. Jeffrey Johnson, how you doing, sir? Welcome. So we got enough people here in the house tonight. Also, Fern let me know that that guitar that he and I have been trading back and forth, my parts caster is done. So hopefully this week I will be able to go get that. So I'm looking forward to that. I really haven't seen it. I can't even tell you how that stain I did on the neck, I think it turned out all right. It'll be even darker now that quite a few weeks have gone by. It's one of the beautiful things about doing a boiled linseed oil stain, is that it gets that amber tinting to a lot faster than you would find naturally over time, like some of these 70s guitars that I have sometimes. But we'll see how that turns out. I have to give to Robert Baker on his channel the win of the year so far, but it'd be hard to top this one. in terms of video and information that he just released, a video called Pros Point Out Everything Wrong with This Fake Les Paul. And he had quite a few guys of note standing around a table looking at a Gibson. Mad Two Head says live orchestras are something else. Yes, they are. We have a harbor symposium here where all of the shows, the harbors blow their horns in time to make music. That's pretty cool. I like that story. Yeah, it's a beautiful experience to hear full orchestra, guys. If you haven't experienced, then I really do suggest that you do, for a lot of reasons. But Robert Baker, again, with this video, had Tom Buchenbach, he had Murphy from Gibson, he had Joe Bonamassa. Yeah, Joe Bonamassa. You know, a lot of cats he had in this room, all standing around looking at a Gibson. It was a Gibson that Robert Baker bought off a friend of his, or gave to him, one of the two. He didn't buy it. But you had all of these, including Gibson guys, standing around discussing Gibsons. And I thought it was awesome. And I appreciate that Tom Murphy said, well, you know, there are a lot of cats who could, you know, rock this guitar and make good music on it. So as an instrument in terms of making music, I'm going to criticize it too much. The problem comes in, of course, with the Gibson headstock logo. And when I mean they examined this guitar, they tore it apart. They cut it in half so that they could examine what the wood was, what it was made out of. They cut the neck half so they could take a look at the truss rod going through it, as well as what is the fretboard material on this thing. They compared with a 70s Gibson replica. It was made by an Israeli in Israel. And then they brought out a 1969 Les Paul, a real 69 Les Paul, that had been converted over to humbuckers. But nevertheless, because if you remember, those were P90 guitars. But nevertheless, it compared to three of those guitars. And cutting Gibson, looking at the woods, looking at how it was constructed, and it was very illuminating. It's especially when you have those kind of guys. I mean, those guys have had hundreds of thousands of hours with Gibson Les Pauls in their hand, playing them, making them, you know, designing them. And so they're to have, and the Gibson guy, yeah, we know about these. Murphy, yeah, we know. We got people all the time calling us up talking about, hey, have you seen that big bust in LA over those fake Les Pauls? And yeah, we know, but we can't do anything about it. And I found that fascinating that, you know, Gibson, you know, we knew they knew, but to the extent that they know, and they've just kind of thrown up their hands, because there's nothing that they can do legally, and it just wouldn't fly. They've got no legal standing there. You know, they can make, he said we can make them aware that this is happening, but whether they act on it or not is truly up to them. So, first thing that was interesting about that Gibson, and I bet you that it's typical of 95% of the Gibsons out there, is that it was indeed, the body was mahogany, a cheap mahogany, a furniture mahogany, but it was a mahogany body with a thin mahogany, very thin mahogany flame top. Very thin. About this much poly, because the guy they scraped the poly off of it. Take a look at the video. Go take a look at it. It's worth taking. It's about a half hour, but it's worth looking at. The truss rod was complete. Truss rod was complete trash. You know, there's no way you could intonate that guitar. You know, really, honestly. And they just went through it and comparing those three guitars. And I found that to be fascinating. I found that to be just absolutely fascinating. So you guys should check that out. Sounds like a great vid. I'll check it out. Once again, it's on Robert Baker's channel. Pros point out everything wrong with this fake Les Paul. And, me, I have had enough Les Pauls myself in my hands. The minute I looked at it, I immediately, a lot of red flags jumped off on it. But again, I had thousands of hours, I would say, myself, at this point. Yes, I get over 1,000 hours at this point, handling, dealing, thousands actually, playing, if I include that, Les Pauls. So I have an eye for it. I can look at a fake and suss out red flags in 5 seconds, but a lot of cats can't. And so this video was really good from that standpoint. So, but, it wasn't done in a negative manner. Even the Gibson guys, tried to keep it positive. They tried to say, well, again, maybe somebody out there is making music with this guitar, with these Gibsons. We don't have a problem with more power to them. Our problem, of course, comes with the headstock. 3-chord Dave, sir, how are you doing? Long time no peep, sir. How you doing? Good to see you, Dave. Pleasure to have you here in tonight's discussion. I think you're going to like this one. Steve Austin, do you like Pink Floyd, man? Of course. Who doesn't like Floyd? I'll tell you a little secret. I actually went to Laser Floyd, like the original Laser Floyd. I guess that had to be, I've been to that. Actually, you can always hear about Laser Floyd as a kind of like it's become like a meme or a joke these days, but that actually existed. Believe it or not. Glad to have you here, Dave. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me to have you here. Again, guys, Robert Baker's channel. Pros point out everything wrong with this fake Les Paul. Very educational, but again, they've been, keep it positive. I don't think that there was any hope for that guitar. I mean, it was okay, it played, but the fact that they cut it up in pieces, I think is probably, what needs to be done with that. But they kept it positive, but I've been noting that in what I call the third wave of music guitar YouTube, or guitar music related, guitar related YouTubers, third wave. The first wave were guys like Mike. Mike would have loved to have seen that video tonight, rest his soul, at China Guitar Skeptics, Into the Blues. A lot of those guys, they're what I consider the first generation YouTubers. I came in the second wave. This third wave that's come about is starting. If you notice, there has been a huge increase of cats entering into this space recently. It is interesting to note that a lot of the gear reviews in terms of their titles, whether they end up being as negative as the titles portray them to be or not, is what makes them clickbaity in some ways. But a lot of negative guitar reviews have taken over the guitar YouTube space. Titles like "The Worst Guitar I've Ever Played," "This Amp is Absolute Garbage, Don't Buy It," "Fender's New Indonesian Strat is a Joke." These are actual titles that I pulled out from third wave gear reviewers in our space. Now, even I took on that pile when it came. Anthony Thornhill, how you doing, Mr. Thornhill? How you doing? Welcome, guys. I'll catch up in the chat here in a minute. Even I jumped on that dog pile regarding the Fender Indonesian-made Fender Standard, but I didn't take it from the standpoint of criticizing the construction of the guitar. I took it from its criticism of the pricing point between Squire, Classic Vibe, and the next standard after that. and where they were trying to place it and if they hit the mark or not. I couldn't in good conscience, and I think I stated at the time with that live stream that I couldn't in good conscience do too much criticism of that guitar because I hadn't played one. And I have strummed one now at a local music shop, and it's an okay guitar. It feels like a Fender Strat feeling, that gravitas that I talk about. It's got that vibe to it. I would still go with a classic vibe over it. I have it having, and I had both of them together. A used vibe. It was a Telly and one was a Strat. But anyway, you could just kind of look at them and say, this one, And the classic vibe kind of won out. So there's that. But I wouldn't call it a joke. I think that's very strong. So in this live stream, we're going to kind of take a deep dive into this new wave of negativity, why it's happening, or whether people are being hard on gear actually makes the reviewer seem smarter. We're going to touch on that. We'll also discuss how to regard these reviewers and view them constructively without turning into, a bunch of negative Nancy's and being afraid to try out new gear ourselves. Again, our God gave us this, if you believe in God, gave us this wonderful cognitive process to reason things out on our own. So tonight is touching on it a little bit as well. So let's break it down. Now, there's been a shift in YouTube guitar reviews. Stated. In the beginning, it used to be about showcasing new gear. Hey, look what I got. New unboxing of the day. New pedal of the day. Wow, look what I got. And there still is an aspect of that out there. I would say that the more prevalent aspects of gear reviews have turned negative. Now it seems it's almost to someone's pleasure of destroying something, destroying it in terms of reviewing it. So these clickbait style negative reviews have taken over, are starting to take over. Why? Now, I talked about some titles. The worst gear I've ever played, don't waste your money. This amp sounds like trash, avoid at all costs. I can't believe he paid $500K for this garbage guitar. These are actual titles. Six. These are six that I just pulled up to show you what I'm talking about. And I think that this is just six these aren't even the worst. These are the ones that I just quickly pulled up to give examples of what I'm talking about. Wrath of Wood. How you doing, sir? Welcome. Hiya to you. What's there to review? Is it a guitar? Does it do guitar things? Is it priced accordingly? Yeah. I think in the beginning of YouTube, getting back to how it used to be about showcasing gear, that's the term. It wasn't so much for reviewing as it was showcasing. There's a little bit of a different thing there. And you can showcase it in a variety of ways. How, different styles of music that you can get out of it. How it sounds through a certain kind of amp. A lot of stuff like that. It's a guitar. It's got, a minimum of six strings. And if it's electric, then it's going to have certain pickups in it of certain varied quality, which again is subjective. And where do you go from there, as was just pointed out? What's there to review? Is it a guitar? Does it do guitar things? So it used to be more about showcasing. Now it's about destroying it. The YouTube algorithm rewards negativity. I hate to tell you guys this, but it does. And that's just a kind of a fact of being a YouTuber. A term that makes me wince, but it is because that's anyway, won't get into that rabbit hole. But I think that people engage when there's more drama. People tend to engage when there's more drama. That's why in other spaces, like I said, if you imagine YouTube as a high school cafeteria, and there's certain cliques that sit at certain tables, and our clique, the guitar nerds, we get off on drama just as much as the guys over at the golf club table, to give you an example. And controversies do bring eyeballs. And I think a lot of people said, hey, instead of, showcasing something, maybe which people were like, oh yeah, great, yawn, I've seen that before, and move on, as opposed to, this is crap, let me tell you why. And that shift, we see, and it's what I want to talk about tonight. Now, do harsh reviews make a reviewer seem smarter? Does being overly critical build credibility? I think that these are questions that guys who make that kind of content should, I doubt that they do, but they should ask themselves. Because, there's this one guy who is pounding on 58, 57, 58, 59, 60 Les Pauls right now. It's like, this guy's like, and he's on one of the guys, Tom Buchenbach, who was on this video with Robert Baker. He's on this guy's ass about, how great, a 59 is, a real 59, as opposed to a reissue. He sees no difference. As a matter of fact, he calls it BS, which of course we all know that there's, that there's a certain amount of pixie dust on that. But, this guy's like a dog on a bone, man, with this guy, especially Buchenbach. I feel sorry for Tom, to be frank with you, because I wouldn't want somebody on me like that. And it draws eyes, though. It's contrary to what you think. You and I may kind of wince at that kind of stuff, but for the most part, a lot of people don't. They actually thrive on it. They like that kind of stuff. And so it gets eyeballs, and it gets eyeballs, it gets clicks, it gets subscribers. If it gets subscribers, then you ride up the rails, and YouTube rewards that. Wrath of Woods, see Philip McKnight's channel for more review info. He's made a career out of it. Yeah. But even Philip, he levels up on his reviews because he'll take it apart. He'll pull another one off the wall that he's hanging behind him, and he'll compare the two of them together. So again, he tries not to be negative. He just merely tries to put the facts out there. And I think that for somebody who's buying a guitar and he reviews them all, if they can go to his channel, get a little bit more background information on the instrument to find out whether or not it's really something that they want, then there's value there. But if you've got 50,000, Phil McKnights out there in this space, then it gets redundant. A lot of people think their personal choice and opinion is just better, when it really is just personal taste. Yes, correct. So it's, as I say, it's subjective. I use that term a great deal. Guitar pickups are the thing that get negatived on, all the time, the worst. These are shit pickups. The pickups are this guy, I, even myself, was guilty of hammering on a set of pickups. Do that again. I wasn't wrong, but it left me kind of queasy. Not the kind of content that I want to produce. But that's a subjective thing, pickups. Some guys, $50 pickups may be crap to, a guy with his $1,000 humbuckers, as compared to the guy with the 50 who thinks that the guy with $1,000 humbuckers is wasting his money. See, it's subjective. Hello, sir. Where are you from, sir? Well, so many nice sirs there. I appreciate it. I'm from India. I appreciate you. We have a lot of folks from India checking in from time to time. It's so good to have you here. I am from a place called Windsor Hills, California, in Los Angeles. And yeah, once upon a time. I think this is hurting musicians by making them afraid to buy gear in some cases, especially some of the younger cats who don't have that ability to their cognitive ability to reason out whether or not they're just getting clickbaited on something. And again, this is somebody's subjective opinion, not necessarily the truth. The truth usually falls somewhere in the middle. The psychological aspects of negativity in reviews. Why do negative reviews or negative anything go viral? Why is that? I like to talk about psychology a lot on this channel, if you guys have noticed. My mother has a PhD in psychology from Pepperdine University. She got her degree, and we had a lot of discussions regarding that. And I have studied a lot on it, and I find it interesting how it is used to target things to us. Wrath of Wood, I made a pickup once. It was trash, low output. I'm assuming the pros can make a better one. That's all I know. I bet you if you made two, the second one would have been better from the first because you were learning from your mistakes. If you got to the third, fourth, and fifth, by this fifth one, or maybe by the third one, you might have nailed it. There's joy in repetition, Prince once said. I don't know much English, so I'm translating and writing it, sir. That's all right. You're doing great. Have you ever come to India? No, I have not. I have been to Nepal, the closest that I've made to India. And have my best friend, I can tell you a real good friend of mine is Indian, Prashant, for many years now. And yeah. Michael Watson, I am much more interested in what is good about a product than what is negative. Reviews get old real quick. What time is it, sir? We're past 11 p.m. This is coming to Amsterdam. So yeah, we're in the wee hours getting into. So this controversy really equals engagement. More comments, more reactions, more shares, more subscribers. The human brain is wired to react more strongly to negative information. Why do you think the headlines in newspapers, when they used to have newspapers, or headlines that pop up on your phone, let's go more modern than that, Michael, are negative? We spent years now with negativeness just being pumped on us through the headlines and the psychological toll that it takes. But the human brain is wired to react to it. We hear this news that an asteroid is plummeting to Earth and is predicted to hit in 2032. So the human brain automatically hears that and goes, oh my gosh, there's an asteroid that's going to hit the Earth. If we dig a little deeper, we know that asteroids hit the Earth all the time. Some of them are the size of a pea. Some are bolites, which these are asteroids that explode and blow up. Before they don't actually contact, they burn up in the stratosphere. And this asteroid, whether it hits or not, will be no different than 50 or 60 other potential objects that are floating around out there. So when you have that in the back of your mind, that wiring kind of doesn't work. Information. Now, do these reviews actually hate the gear, or are they just chasing reviews? In other words, it was popular here in the last month to really just dump on that new Fender Indonesian Strat. Some people were, again, legitimately, you know, giving very good points regarding it in various categories. I included in that. I didn't go with the construction or anything like that because I hadn't played one. Again, I have since, and I have not changed my opinion from that live stream on that. But many channels are exaggerating for clicks. Again, you know, this is the worst amp ever. Don't buy this. You know, well, I bet you they produced about 50 gajillion of those, and they sold a lot of them. So so you just basically crapped on a lot of guys out there who would have maybe preferred. See, let's flip that around. Who maybe would have preferred to see their amp reviewed in a positive light. I reviewed that Laney amp that I have. That Laney amp I've had that for a long time. They don't even make them anymore. But when I made a video talking about how to change the speaker, not the Fender amp, the Fender Champion 40 that I had. When I did a video on how to swap the speaker out of that was an incredibly popular video for me. I wasn't crapping on it. I didn't crap on the speaker that with. I didn't say this is the shittiest, 12-inch speaker ever. I didn't say that. So let's flip that around. If I had done that, if I was negative, I would have alienated all the thousands of people who enjoyed the video on how to swap out a speaker in that. See how that works? A two-sided coin. And you got to decide as an upcoming YouTuber, if you're getting new into this and you're watching this, which side of that coin you want to fall on. Man, two hats. Another trend is top 5 lists, and number 5 will change your life. It'll be a game changer, guys. You know how I feel about that term, game changer. Blow up your phone and will give you better sex for life. Yeah, it's the bee's knees. It's the bee's knees. Doctors hate this one trick. Yeah. It's the equivalent. It's clickbaiting. Oh, what is that? Oh, let me find out what this one trick is. Or, that one with the mega light. Well, I've got one. I actually bought one. It's not here. That I use it. It's a good flashlight. But in the YouTube videos, they make it like it's a freaking lightsaber. It could cut through walls. And, you could bring down a 47, shining in the pilot's eyes from 5 miles out, and no, it was not like that. But the clickbait was, this is the best flashlight, NASA uses, or something like that. Just clickbaity stuff. And even I, would fall for it. I'm not, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Welcome. Even I, I'm not it's a great flashlight. It's bright, but it's no lightsaber. Let me tell you that. But, yeah, exactly. Doctor, it's the same thing. It's the psychology, the clickbaitiness of it. How many viewers assume that if a reviewer is angry or super critical, they must be more experienced? Again, it's this, when it came down to it, Joe Bonamassa, Tom Bukovac, Tom Murphy, all these cats in that room, they said the only reason somebody would buy Gibson is just because it says Gibson on the headstock. That's it. Which is what I've been saying all along, is that, and then it comes down to you whether or not you can live with that. See, I can't wear a fake Rolex, get compliments on it, and keep a smile on my face because I know it's fake. I can't do it. Honest. Is it honest? Is another question. Are they experienced and honest? Some of the best guitarists in history played gear that wasn't perfect. That was also pointed out in that video. At the very beginning, Tom Bukovac said, I believe it was Tom, said that only 5% of all the recorded music featuring electric guitar was done on expensive guitars. That means the other 95% were done on cheap guitars and expensive gear. You know, and by the way, you know, this, going down the tip of my toe in a rabbit hole on vintage gear, particularly vintage speakers. This guy was saying, "Well, I want to get a set of greenbacks because I want to capture that sound of God, I forget the group at Alan Wright. I forget. I want to catch that sound." And somebody pointed out to him, well, you know, at the time that those guys were using those speakers were brand new. So, you know, you could probably get equivalent sound and a brand new set of greenbacks. They don't have to have that legendary, fabled, you know, pulsonic cone. Just like you don't have to have, you know, those, you know, original Bursbucker, you know, pickups, you know, in order to achieve that tone. You know. So, anyway, just something I threw out there. Some of the best guitarists in history played gear that wasn't perfect. I always want to throw that out there. Jack White, he loves beat up guitars. He made one out of like a stick and catgut. I seen it. And he still played it. Perfect nation, up and down the stick. Kurt Cobain played a Jag Stang. You know, a guitar that until he rocked it and made it popular, everybody was a bad guitar. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. You know of anybody back in the day that was rocking a Jag Stang? I certainly don't. You know, I didn't see one of those until I went to Japan, to be honest with you. And a guy like B.B. King didn't obsess over boutique. He focused on his playing. And I always want to get these conversations back to that, focusing on the playing. In our discussion in the last live stream, I ended the conversation regarding studio gear on focusing on playing and recording with what you got. And this conversation tonight is just pointing out a few guys who just really played in perfect, what we would consider by us, you know, us snobs, to be in perfect gear, yet they made some of the most beautiful music of the 20th century. Have you ever bought a piece of gear that said was bad, but you actually liked it and thought it was fine? How many Epiphone owners out there back in the day had a really nice Epiphone, and back when the Epiphones were kind of getting crapped on? They've got a lot of cachet. They didn't have this back in the day. It's the reason why people wanted to have chips, because they couldn't bear having that Epiphone logo. It had to be Gibson. By the way, the other thing you notice that none of those guys pointed out immediately that stood out to me, and I'm amazed, is the headstock angle. If you go take a look at, again, on Robert Baker's channel, that video regarding that fake Gibson, the first held it up, I knew the headstock angle was an Epiphone headstock angle. It wasn't the Gibson headstock angle. That's always a giveaway. That's the #1 biggest, fastest of all time giveaways. And that's another reason why people pooped on Epiphones. Remember, they said the headstock angle is not the same as the Gibson, so you're not going to get the same tone. Listen to my guitar solo on Behind the Blue Door on my Asanoki album. That guitar solo was done on an Epiphone, or maybe it was my Stoner, but Les Paul copy. And that is the purest, most beautiful Les Paul tone I ever got out of a guitar. You know, and it is the Paul tone. And the headstock angle was not the Gibson headstock angle. See, you know, again, focus on your playing. I love that gear. Have you ever bought gear that people said was bad, but you loved it? You know, a lot of guys will tell me that Stoner guitar that I did that song on was bad gear. But if they heard that solo, they would swear that I did it on a Gibson Les Paul. Oh man, that Les Paul sounds great. Here was it? Well, it wasn't a Les Paul. Wasn't even an Epiphone. Reviewers slammed the new Fender Indonesian Standard Stratocaster as being cheap, the new Standard, as being cheap and playable. But how many of them actually took the time to first buy one and second set it up properly? Not every player has a US-made Fender budget. For some, these guitars are amazing starting points, or in some cases, middle and finishing points. Instead of helping beginners, these reviewers discourage them from even trying. There may have been somebody who would prefer to have that Standard over the Squier custom buy, which again is a subjective thing, that's fine. But maybe those reviews may have, shied them away from even looking at that. What's my favorite flavor of curry? Butter chicken is my favorite. Butter curry is my favorite. I got a Pulsar Crazy Tremolo. Nice. Run Riot, a guitar that literally no one else wanted. Yeah, the Jag Stang, again, not popular. At least in Southern California in the 70s and 80s and 90s when I was there, didn't really no one, and nor in the recording studios. So a lot of other stuff. So who made his own guitar out of, God knows what, like a meteorite, because it was about 15 pounds. But I never saw that. Yeah, that's true. I think the Epiphone angle headstock is better, to be honest. Yes, it is better. In my Let's Ask a Luthier, Fern says the angle of that is much because it prevents the chance of that headstock breaking if it falls. Better break angle, yeah. Less tuning on the G string, correct. I was just about to say that as well. They admitted in that video that that in the Gibson, the real Gibsons, the way that they lay down the frets is not correct. It's done at the geometry on it is to an 80-degree plane, whereas it should be a 79.6, which is what you find on even on that Gibson, on all foreign import guitars. That scale is correct, whereas on an original Gibson it is incorrect. But they've corrected it. But if you buy a custom shop, it's not, because that's a correct thing that it is. So man, come on now, come on. Yeah, less steep angle on the headstock makes more sense to me from a mechanical standpoint. Same with the volute, agree with that. 14 degrees for Epi, 17 degrees for the Gibson. That is correct. Fern explained it very well in that video. Yes, he did. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mike. How you doing, Mike, by the way? Good to see you, sir. Yeah. So, these negative guys, again, I always talk about, let's really use this wonderful brain that God gave us and look at these things and flip the coin. I always like to flip the coin on things. How would this be, on the other side of the coin of this? And really, if you do that, sometimes you see how rotten, really how it is. Not every guitar player has US made Fender budget. So why, make them feel like, well, I finally got a Fender guitar, but it's not really a Fender because everybody says it's really just Fender branded Squire Affinity, which is not true. But by the way, after strumming one, it is not true at all. You know, saying this sucks. A fair review, if you're going to do that, should explain why it has issues, if it has any issues at all of significance, in its price range. If you're looking at a $5,000 shop guitar and there is fret binding issues, then certainly at it. If it's a $300 Harley Benton, you got to give yourself a little leeway there. You got to give a little give to Harley Benton, okay? You might do a little bit of work in order to make it perfect, to finish it out. That's the reason why they are able to produce those guitars very cheaply, is because a lot of the little things that Gibson will do to finish up a guitar, they're not going to do. They leave it up to you or your luthier. Compare it to other options in the same price range. Again, is a smart thing to do. Show how to improve it with a setup or modification. This is what separates Phil McKnight from a lot of people, because he's always showing you at the end how to improve it, and he always starts with a setup. He said, everything starts with it. I've had guitars that I brought in from Japan that I was terrified, because I bought them out of the box. I strummed it a little bit and I was worried. Like, is this no, just need a little setup. I sat here and set it up, tuned it up, and it was fine. The Marshall "Don't Buy These 3 Amps" review. There's a typical, well, everybody really wants the 800, but the 900, those are the crappy ones. We don't want those, but they made a pedal out of the 900, and it doesn't really sound. And the Marshall thing, that's the one. Johann Seghorn, he loves, let's put this speaker in this Marshall, or let's put these Marshall speakers in this amp. He really gets into it. And I think that for what he does, it's interesting, because his viewpoint is from a sonic viewpoint, but he never says don't buy this amp or don't try this combination. It's always a positive spin on it. Yeah. So there's ways to, again, I'm pointing out ways that this could be done better, and guys who do it better. Not every guitarist needs a $3,000 tube amp. Marshall MG, Marshall Code, the Marshall Origin series all have their place depending upon the player. So that whole, don't buy these 3 amps, and those are usually the 3 amps that they say don't buy, may or may not be helpful to a beginner guitar player like my friend Prashant's daughter, who's interested in getting into guitar. And she contacted me and asked me what she should get. And I gave her my list and her. Some of the biggest artists ever played solid state amps. Does that mean that their tone was garbage? Catch up here. Thanks for the info on tuning Matt Gloss EP LP. That looks way better. Yeah, you got it, man. I have a thing for woodworking that I did not. Staining, finishing, repairing, skills that I had a little experience, of course, in the past, but I've actually got something. That's a skill that I have. And it's amazing. I laugh. People come into the shop, still ask if stuff is made in China, as if they can't make a guitar. Again, the Chinese have been making guitars, to my knowledge, since the 1980s. Again, because Cort guitars were the guitars that I learned. I learned to play bass and guitar on a headless Cort guitar and a Cort bass guitar that belonged to my good friend, musician John McKnight. And until I was able to scrape up enough money to get my first Squire, Japanese-made Squire Bullet. You see, as I go on, and talk about things and read things, I really begin to remember what that first guitar was. And now I know it was a Squire, and I know it was a Bullet too. And boy, do I wish I could, because those early Squire Bullets, like those they were basically equivalents of the made in Mexico, except for these were made in Japan. Those early Squire Bullets now are worth a lot. It was a good guitar. I had a great first electric guitar. I have no idea what happened to it. I really don't. Gibson design faults become their, that's their brand. And again, like I said, if you order a custom shop, those faults are going to be there. You're paying a lot of money for it. Manufacturer puts the parts together, it's like 99% done from a factory. Yeah. Again, Andy Summers, please use the Roland Jazz Core solid state for all of his, for the first Prince album, for the first Police album through Synchronicity, Dimebag Darrell used a Randall solid state amp when he was playing with the Pantera. I think that nobody would have a problem with that tone, Not everybody needs a $3,000 tube amp. So, instead of buying these 3 amps, why don't you take a look at these solid state alternatives? It would be a better title. But see, that's not negative enough for YouTube. And the algorithm, again, keep in mind, guys, I hate, which is why maybe I'm not to the level of subscribers that I should be. One of the reasons, because I don't play that, but they do reward negativity. Again, I'm not a negative person by nature, so it's not a road that I travel down. Just because a reviewer doesn't like an amp doesn't mean it's bad. It may not be right for them. Again, subjectiveness. $500K for a horrible sounding 59 Les Paul review. Vintage guitar prices are crazy. But does that mean that they sound bad? The 59 Burst is a legendary guitar, but not everyone gets the hype. A lot of us could care less. Some people, they would kill to have one, or even touch one. Some of the best recordings in rock history were made on these guitars. But new YouTubers calling it bad makes them sound wise. Oh, you old guys, are so stupid, with this whole 59 tone thing. Hey, Johan Segborn, because he had a music shop there in Sweden, where he lives, loan him all of the Les Pauls that were made in production up until 1980s. So he had a 52, a 53, a 54, and he played them in one video where you could hear for yourself how, doggone it, you know what, that 59, that sounds actually pretty sweet. Now, do all 59, as compared to the years before it and the years after it. Go to that video and listen to him play those vintage Les Pauls. And does every 59 sound like that one? Probably not, but damn, you can hear that difference. It made me a believer. It made me a believer in that aspect. Against pickups, Maybe somebody said, actually, I like the way that the 80, the 76 more than I like the 59. Again, subjective, but pretty much I think most people hear that there was a noticeable difference there. So, calling it bad doesn't make you sound wise. It just makes you sound like a jackass. Piece of gear isn't for you. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not your style. It's not for you. I don't play ESP guitars because it's not for me. Design is not for me, and I could play any style of music on it, but what it's meant for is it's not for me. but I don't call it a bad guitar. I think ESP makes fantastic guitars. It's just not for me. I've tried a lot of famous stuff, over the years in different countries that I've ran into. Some of it lives up to hype, some of it does not. You know. Instead of slamming gear, keep it balanced. Point out the flaws, but explain why they matter. Is a flaw a deal breaker or is it a minor issue? Who is the guitar for? Is it a pro, a beginner, or somewhere in between? Or both? You can show ways how to improve the guitar. Can you take a cheap guitar, or, an inexpensive budget guitar, and do a great setup on it, a great guitar? Can a budget amp sound amazing with the right pedal? Compare it fairly to other options. What can you get in the same price point? Is this gear bad, or is it not the best option at its price point? I always talk about that too, about quality and price balance. You want that sweet spot that you want to find where you got great quality, but the price is not, is hidden below. You're like, wow, I'm getting more guitar here than what I paid for. You don't want to be the opposite of that statement. Avoid over-the-top negativity just for clicks. These are my points to you guys who are YouTubers who may stumble across this live stream and listen to it. Hey, this is just my advice to you. It's okay to be honest, but don't exaggerate for drama's sake. It's not a long-term play. I've been doing YouTube now for quite a while. Quite a while now. But I can tell you it's not a good long play because you'll lose your credibility very quickly and people will burn out from you. I have had a vulgar equivalent for the red light windows down here down the street, but I won't use it tonight. I'll keep it PG. People trust fair reviewers more than clickbait creators. If you want to be in this space, people like Phil McKnight are trusted because he's fair. That's what you want to aspire to. Is the rise of negative guitar reviews helping or hurting this community? I submit to you tonight that it is certainly hurting it. Should we hold brand accountable to that level? Or is this just turning into guitar YouTube kind of a rage culture? A new Star Wars movie comes out and you got 1,000 channels who tell you how it's crap and it's DEI and it's bad writing. In most cases they're not wrong. But do we need 50,000 pounding on it, jumping on it, that way? Is there nothing in this, $250 million production that you find of some kind of quality? The music, costume design, things like that. You can apply that. Again, that's this table. Over on our table, we can also apply those same principles. Sure, we should hold brands accountable, but not to the point of being clickbaity and being unfair. We need to support reviewers in this space and try to shun or avoid the clickbaity ones for the sake of the entire ecosystem, for the sake of the table. I think that it would be wise for us to just try to support fair reviews. If you review gear, if you like watching reviews, try doing a totally fair review or only one reviewers that you find to be fair. Mentioning both good and bad, if you're making the content, and using that yardstick when you're watching the material. Is this guy being fair and balanced, as they used to say in the news? Is he mentioning both good and bad? And then if we're leaning more towards the negative side, this is somebody that maybe we don't need to support, frankly, because they're being clickbaiting, you know. And that scale can slide all the way down to just agree. So just a thought, guys. Really, just a thought. Let me catch up here in the chat. The store that sells it should do setups on anything in a showroom. Yeah, they do setups, but unfortunately, that's just not happening anymore. It's just the way of the world. I got a Gibson I ordered right from the factory that has an extra accidental bridge mount hole drilled under the pick guard. Yeah. And then you have to decide, is it worth sending back, you know, or is it something you could joke about years from now? Yeah, this is my, you know. It just comes down to you. But yeah, that would upset me. And then that's the thing that's worth reviewing and discussing. After that, I sang about brands. Yep. There are a million ways to get a Les Paul sound. It doesn't have to be a Gibson. Just pick your favorite pickups. Again, it's the pickups, then the amp and the speaker that you're using, and then that's where it is. And then I'll even throw in the gauge of strings, because heavy gauge strings have a different tonality to them than lighter gauge strings. You know, just go down through that. I haven't even got to the guitar yet, or the wood. I haven't even touched on that yet. Solid state, highly underrated amps like a Roland JC. Yeah, I agree, Mike. The best is when their comment section is full of people telling them they are just don't know how to use the gear. Yeah. There's kickback on it. There's kickback on some of these guys down in the comment section. I do know some guys come in and be like, dude, you know, why are you being this negative Nancy? Maybe you should, you know, adjust your pickup height before you talk about that, or maybe, you know, a lot of maybes there. Mike says, I have seen a couple that should have just been called How Much I Hate Gibson. Then you got cats out there who, you know, like I said, that channel that's on Tom Bukaback's ass. He just hates. I think he owns Gibsons, but I just think he hates them. And you know, it's like what do they call that? Hate watching. You hate the show, but you watch it anyway. It's like he hates them, but he buys them and reviews them anyway. You know. Sounds like a lot of the guitar luthiers back in the 70s. They hated those guitars, but they, you know. Anyway, that's a separate story. Controversy drives engagement, though. Yeah, that's the point of it. YouTube rewards. So the more outrageous the claims, the more people comment. It's just the name of the game here. You know, YouTube is an interesting place, man, because, you got these chicks who are coming on YouTube doing demonstrations on how to breastfeed when they had Nara Baby 1. 2, their boobs are as fake as, there's more plastic in their boobs than there is in the fake babies, that they're holding, the plastic baby that they're holding, just to show their boobs off on YouTube and get clicks. I consider that to be less egregious than these cats who do these, this top 10 shittiest amps, or, the worst gear of the year, or the top 5, this or whatever, There's some entertainment value in the girl with the fake boobs, the fake baby. Something for everyone, as my uncle used to say. Yeah, YouTube is just is indeed, and and of course, because there's a lot of cats out there who simp to that kind of stuff, like for some reason, like they've never seen boobs before, and their engagement goes up. I'd show you guys my boobs, but I'm afraid you don't want to see that. No, you have the opposite on my subscribers. I've seen a couple that should just been called. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. So there's that, guys. It's just less of it. And again, if your algorithm thrives on negativity, then what are you going to do if you're trying not to be? Well, I just believe that in the long run, if you want to do this for the long run, then you don't engage like that. And do I try to engage in that kind of stuff? But boy, they've caught on. Cats have caught on. They've said, well, the more negative I am, the more engagement I get. And so let me do more of this. And it's harmful to this. Yes, the boob advantage. I'm not gonna get fakies. Yeah, yeah, man. I'm not trying to knock them either. There's female guitar players who will pop their boobs. I mean, they got of course. Where are you gonna put them? If you got a big set of boobs, then where are you gonna put them? But they're not like they're wearing a turtleneck. When they're shooting these things, they're wearing like the deepest V. Imagine. So are we watching to listen to you play guitar? Are we looking at your boobs? And we're kind of 50-50 of both. Some for everybody. The boobs, and YouTube rewards that. It's just the fact of the matter. Again, I find that to be far more entertaining than negative clickbait. Hey, what's to be found positive that's not positive about that scenario? Good guitar playing, boobs on top of the guitar. But that is the nature of YouTube. And you have to make a decision whether you're going to go down this path or this path. And I believe that there are certain paths that you're going to be faced with that could affect your longevity in the long run. They know what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing. Heck yeah, they know. Maddie, they know what they're doing. This brother got on. He does one of those where he reviews other YouTube channels, and he was talking about that. He's a guy like me, younger guy, but he's like, what is this? But he said it himself. He said, these girls know what they're doing. We should normalize cleavage for male guitarists. Well, we tried that in the 80s, especially with the Cinderella and Quiet Riot, and I could go down a list, but have you ever seen Ronnie James Dio's Rainbow in the Dark? Just a rainbow in the dark. He was trying to normalize male cleavage then. It didn't work out too well. There was a heavy wax job needed in some of these guys' cases before they got to that. Man, yeah, it's just the nature of the beast. So on, guys. Some of those guys could pull it off. Mind you, Prince had that. Yeah, man. I didn't even want to talk about it, man. The thought had flashed in my mind to point out real quick, and I quickly dismissed it because I saw that when it happened back in '91 when he went on MTV. I was sitting there watching that, and to this day, I still can't believe it. So yeah, he had his assless chaps. It was buttless chaps or whatever. Like, isn't that kind of a misnomer? And Red Hot Chili Peppers had the socks. Yeah, it's an age-old thing. Yeah, sex sells. Of course it does. Again, okay, fair enough. There's, if you find beauty in the human form, then great. Not being negative. negative sake, negatives for negative sake is what I'm talking about tonight. You know, but you know the assless chaps. Nah, I ain't gonna do that either. You ain't gonna see me with no, you know, cut the pockets out of my jeans. It's not gonna happen. I would never consider that. And the fact that he considered that's when I stopped listening. That's when I stopped listening to Prince. That's when I gave up on Prince. When I saw that, I stopped listening to him. So from 91 on, after that song, what was that? Da, 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 Get Off. Get Off. That's what he did that. After that album, I stopped listening to Prince. You know, because that was too much for me. That was a bridge too far for Mike McWilliams. Even a guy, as you guys know, I admire greatly. But that was like, nah, man, I can't co-sign on that. Nah. I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm just not built like that. All right, guys. I again will hopefully do a live stream on Wednesday. We got some guitar coming in. They may be in by Wednesday. My guitar I'm working with Fern with is done. I'll hopefully be able to find time to pick that up between now and the next live stream. So I'll show that how that turned out. Maybe plug it in here, give it a strum or two live. Lots of stuff coming up here. Want to thank you so much for tuning in live, whether you're watching this live or you catch this in the rerun. I want to say thank you. I want to thank you, all you guys. Mike, stay away from the clickbait. Yeah, guys, stay away from the clickbait. No, I'm not going to say that either. I'm trying to keep this PG tonight. I don't know where my mind is tonight. I need to go sit down and read the Bible or something, clean up my mind. But honestly, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in this evening. We will see you again on the Wednesday night hump. Lots of stuff coming up, lots of cool stuff to show off. So I will see you then. Please take care. Till the next one. Bye-bye.